And she thinks blood. Must it always come back to blood? And I love this mood Cat's in, where everything is awful. Everything is awful.
What up, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm Nate. Joining me, as always, my brother and co-host, Zach.
Yo.
So this time we're reading Storm of Swords.
Yeah.
It's still cool to say that.
It's still sick.
It's fresh.
It's still real to me, damn it.
It is real.
If you've joined us before, thank you for coming back. If you haven't, this is your warning at the top of the show. We're full spoilers, so we will be discussing lots of things, not just Storm of Swords. So
Not just Catelyn and how she freed Jaime.
Right.
Which is the focus of this episode.
It will be.
So if you tuned in last episode, we were reading Jaime's first point of view chapter in the series and the first point of view chapter of Storm of Swords.
Righto. And Jaime, Brienne, and Sir Cleos Frey were making their way down
Town, walking fast. No.
the Red Fork.
Oh, the Red Fork.
Away from River Run, where Catelyn had just freed Jaime at the end of Clash of Kings. And Jaime, we get a great look at the Kingslayer in his head, the way he views the world. But
much different than anything we expected. Well, upon your first read-through.
And he has some debates about whether or not he should free himself by killing Brienne or not, but in the end, she manages to pull a clever move to escape some pursuers that were sent from River Run to bring them back, Robb and Rhaegar, the captain of the guard, and by dropping a boulder on him. And then when she returns to the boat, Jaime debates on killing her, but instead helps her back in. And there seems to be something to this Kingslayer.
Something.
I shouldn't tap the mic with my pen.
You definitely should not do that.
Sorry.
Yeah, look at them. Look at them. You see those?
Yeah, those are
sound
pretty
waves?
huge
Fucking
waveforms.
Whatever.
Anyway,
shut the fuck up.
This chapter we're reading Catelyn 1.
Yes,
Catelyn's
we are.
first, and
It's picking up basically across the exact same time frame that Robb and Rhaegar shit is happening with Jaime, because half of her chapter is spent watching for Rhaegar.
yeah, she opens the chapter by ruminating on one Sir Desmond Grell, who had served House Tully all his life. He had seen Catelyn become a young woman, a great lord's wife, mother to a king, and now he's seen me become a traitor as well, she thinks. So she's immediately... I love this fucking chapter, 1. 2, Cat owns her shit. She does not at all...
Pretend like she didn't do exactly what she did.
Right, and knows it's treasonous, and I just like the way she's rooming. Like, this guy has literally seen me through every phase of my life except for Stoneheart.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if it's intentional or if there's anything to it, but his name, Grell, I believe that I've read about Grell in, like, ancient lore where it's a type of imp or, like, goblinoid. I don't remember exactly what, but I don't see this guy like that because he seems very... He's not Uthridi's Wayne, who's very not okay with her.
he's dour, but he's still kind.
He's still
in this,
kind, and still shows the respect, which I think goes to show her white privilege, honestly.
Right, yeah.
Which is, in this context, because, basically any High Lord is white, it's just that high upper class status.
Unless you're in Essos,
but...
yeah. Things are looking a little pale here in Westeros. But ever since Edmure had left, he named him Sir Desmond Grell Castellan before he left. So the task of dealing with Catelyn's crime fell to him. And to ease his discomfort, he brought... What did you say it was?
Uthridi's Wayne?
U30s?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it works for me. I couldn't come up with anything
Desmond, he's like, we understand that your boys are dead. He said it a little more kindly, but, in that...
It's a mother's madness.
Yeah, and even Wayne is like,
you couldn't have known what you were doing.
Yeah, the madness struck you and you were lost in your grief.
Cat's like, nah, I did know what I was doing. I knew exactly what freeing Jaime Lannister meant, and I knew that it was treasonous, and you must punish me, because if you don't, people are going to say, we conspired with the Kingslayer to free him.
And not just me.
And so you need to absolutely punish me as per the King's law.
And she even gives this, you should put me in Jaime's cell, manacle me up.
I will wear his fetters proudly, she says. And they're both immediately like, manacles? Oh, for my lord's own lady? Or own daughter? I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's not necessary.
But they do settle on quarantine.
Yeah.
Where
they were going to confine her to her room, and she asked if she could at least be in her father's room because he's dying. And they're like, sure. But that's it. And the Sept.
Yeah,
you can pray.
You can go to the Sept to pray, but the castle is no longer open to you.
Which seems to be this kind of blanket, like, common law. Like, even Sansa, she's held captive, but she's allowed to go visit and pray.
Freedom in the castle, yeah.
Yeah, you always get the opportunity to pray. It's like they're under house arrest, but you're not. But that's it. They're house arrest, but in the Sept or the werewood is all kind of part of the house, right. I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Yeah, she's to remain here in the Sept until Edmure returns, and Catelyn thinks here that Edmure's not the Lord. My father still lives, but all right, cool. We'll just let that one slide. And this is where she is informed that Sir Robin Rygar was sent after Brienne and Jaime to bring Jaime back, and she's not surprised by this at all. She's not even.
She expected it,
right? And
so yeah, basically all of her things are
it's out of my
hand.
Yeah. She's like, yo,
you got to do what you got to do, and so yeah, they bring all her shit down to her father's room, and she joins him out where he overlooks the balcony and just kind of watches over the river for the rest of the day.
Yeah, dreading seeing the sails of the Tully colors, but doesn't. And Lord Hoster is asleep when she goes down to see him, and she wonders what he would say of her crime. Would he do the same for her and Lysa, or would he call it a mother's madness just like everybody else? And
she says out loud, it's a monstrous thing to lose a child. And at that specific line, this motherfucker snaps awake and starts just spewing out some shit.
Right. So, one, I like this idea of Catelyn wondering what these different people would think of what she's done. I think that's the reflection. That's the part of her. That's Ned missing. That's this. Because Ned is so noble. I think even though Catelyn and him have the bastard Jon Snow between them, I think she still sets the bar by Ned. And so if Ned was a bouncing board, is this something
would he approve of?
Would you have done this for our daughters? Or, should we have kept Jaime Lannister? She knows it's not a smart tactical decision, but is there anyone who understands her compassion at losing 2 boys and wanting her 2 girls back? And I think it's interesting that she's just sitting over her dying father wondering, and his crimes that are surfacing now, because, as you said, at the mention
Tansy
of the loss of child, Tansy pops up. Tansy, full spoiler reread, here we fucking go, as we know, is an herb,
it's an
mixture.
Herb that's used and brewed the proper way.
It's the morning after pill.
And it becomes the morning after pill.
Yeah.
It will kill babies.
It will abort babies.
It's baby aborting potion.
And Lysa was forced to drink it when Littlefinger got her impregnated when they were little.
He didn't suit up.
And, and Lord Hoster Tully wasn't fucking having that. She was not going to have
by some
Lord
bastard
Peter
boy.
Baelish from the Fingers. Yeah. So
he wasn't no lord back then. He was just made a lord now recently for Harrenhal.
And it's interesting to see Kat piece it together because she gets real close.
Yeah.
And she's touching on it basically, but she just completely leaves Littlefinger out of the whole equation.
He jumps up and starts mentioning and shouting out all about Tansy and how he regrets it and his bad and all that shit. She immediately is like, well, who the fuck is this Tansy bitch? Who the fuck are you?
Mm-hmm.
And she's ready to call, what is it, Maurice or Martell? What's that fucking, the old daytime talk show? Or
Montel Williams? Hell yeah.
Yeah, she's going to call him and be like, who's this, my stepmom? Mm-hmm. Is this who you cheat? Like, who's this bitch? But yeah, like you said, she'll spend a lot of time contemplating this specific topic and eventually kind of piece things pretty damn closely together.
Hoster goes into a fit here, and Maester Vyman runs in to settle him down, give him some milk at the poppy, and he falls back asleep. So Kat takes the opportunity to ask Vyman about Tansy, and he has no recollection of any...
The only piece of information that's important here for first-time readers is that he says, it's very common that small folk name their kids after herbs, flowers, and plants.
Herbs and spices, man.
And so we get the fact that this is an
herb.
It is a thing that actually is used or as a plant.
Yep.
We don't know its use at this point. We
assume that it is a person and that they're named after some sort of plant.
And so really this is the only clue that he gives that's halfway decent. I mean, I think I wrote something else down that wasn't completely useless, but...
Vyman?
Yeah.
He does mention some other woman that used to and be like a soothsayer, but Kat was like, nah,
her name is
Violet. Yeah.
Does that person mean anything? Who this person that just kind of shows up and...
I think I would sound dumb trying to speak to this, but I feel like this could have I want to say I've seen something on it, but I feel like this could potentially have a tie to someone who comes up in Fire and Blood.
Like your Ashara Sea Star fucking...
Well, no, but...
I'm still working my way through that one, folks.
Right. And so, I don't have enough info off the top of my head to talk about it intelligently, but no, I do think she's significant. Kat straight up vividly recalls this woman.
Yeah,
remembers her name.
It's Old Nan.
Right. What if it is Old Nan?
It's Maggie the Frog.
Fucking... who?
It could be anyone. It could be,
they settled that. No, that's not her. That was Violet, obviously.
Yeah, so the Maester leaves, and she kind of spends the rest of the day watching out for Robb and Rhaegar.
I mean, she spends well into the night just sitting there, standing there.
Well, what else has she got to do, A? And then that's her biggest concern right now is seeing that. So there's the main reason.
In the late afternoon, she did spot a raven arrive, thinking, of course, dark wings, dark words, remembering that the last raven that arrived brought the horror of the death of Brandon Rickon in the sack of Winterfell. Right. And so...
Zach dropped his pen.
So Vyman returned later with her supper, and she asks about the raven that came, and Vyman is hesitant at first, because he's been commanded not to talk to her, but tells her that it's not Tywin, because she asks, like, what the fuck is happening, and he says, Tywin has left the Riverlands. The raven came from Robb.
And that's not the worst of it. Ned's broken his leg.
Robb took a wound storming the crag, but writes that it is no cause for concern and he hopes to return soon. Kat hens like a mother would. Wound, is it serious? What wound? Where? Why? When?
Now,
is it
we
being
know
treated?
That the wound itself is not what's serious here. This is the beginning of the downfall of the Stark-Frey relationship that's going to lead to the Red Wedding.
Yeah. Kat, is tripping out about it. Vyman says, my lady, sorry, I'm commanded not to speak to you. So he hurries out.
Deuce, bitch.
And Catelyn turns back to her father, wiping some spittle from his chin. And he goes off about Tansy once again. And his words disturb her much more than she can put a finger on or even have an iota why. And she thinks, blood. Must it always come back to blood? And I love this mood Kat's in, where everything is awful. Everything is awful. But she has such a clarity about the world. Like, her father, this man she epitomized, she's on his deathbed. He's taking his last several hundred breaths. She is talking about, or his secrets are surfacing, and she's realizing he's not the man maybe she thought he was. Did he have an affair? Was he with someone other than her mother?
Well, that's it. And but she even thinks, but maybe it was somebody after mom.
Right.
Like, not necessarily an affair, just somebody that's comforting.
One of the questions is, what did you do to this woman to need this forgiveness?
Right.
So, and it's just this.
And so I think it finally comes to the head in the best part of the best question she asks for this whole thing is, do I even know who the fuck this man is? Do I know anything? Does he know anything about me? Like, since I've gone and been with Ned and up in the north, like, she's become a completely different person. Yeah, she's still Catelyn, Tully at heart, but she's been hardened by the north.
Do you think that this sort of, because I couldn't help but think that this revelation of Hoster Tully is not quite fitting the bill that Catelyn thought he was, is that a reflection of her children when they learn of Stoneheart? Whichever ones may.
She's not who we always thought she was.
Do any of her children know her?
Right.
Does she know them? No, she doesn't. Look at Arya. Like, Catelyn wouldn't recognize Arya now. Look at Sansa. She's become a much more strong,
but at
willful.
The same time, they both epitomize various traits of their mother with that, And
I'm sure she does Hoster.
Right, absolutely.
But is that her vindictive nature? Like, what traits is it that she pulls from Hoster? Are they the good traits or the bad traits? And that's the question that's getting brought up here.
Right.
Is we've been told, yeah, Hoster was kind of boss. He helped Ned Stark in Robert's Rebellion. He's Catelyn's father. We like Catelyn, so why wouldn't he just be dope AF?
And so this kind of leads her down the whole train of thought where, well, Tansy could also be just a pet name for Lysa. You know, it's what she calls her daughter.
As he called me Cat, yeah.
You know, but then it leads to her marrying Jon Arryn. And she finally kind of has the realization that, like, no, he held that over Jon Arryn. That, like, well, I think I'm skipping.
Oh no,
quite
you just
a bit
skipped because she went to bed. She fell asleep and she dreamed fitfully of. And I just liked the way it was phrased. She was haunted by formless dreams of her children, the lost and the dead. Like, that's what I think the most tragic thing about Cat here is since book 1. She's been dealing with, since Ned lost his head, Sansa and Arya. No news of Arya.
None.
Nothing.
Yep.
But Sansa is in Queen Cersei and King Joffrey's hands and Lannister hands. And so she's got that worry from 3/4 into Game of Thrones.
Right.
And that's
Bran and Rickon. They were at first as safe as they could be expected in wartime.
She had guilt about not being there for them and with them, and she carried that.
And then Theon took over, and she got that news.
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter,
they're dead.
At the end of this clash, they're dead.
And so it's this, yeah, she got Sansa, who is inaccessible to her, and Bran and Rickon, who were inaccessible to her, lost to her, and are now dead. Because of it. Right. And it's this... It's just the way that phrasing...
everything piles on, like, and who can expect her to have fucking sleepless dreams?
And she wonders that, after that she had awoken, she wonders if her father could have fathered a bastard, but she wouldn't believe that of Hoster Tully. Edmure, sure, which, nice little insight into Edmure, but Hoster Tully, no way.
Right, and again, it leads
that's
her to
accurate,
those...
though.
Yeah.
Like, he's not cheating, he hasn't, had an affair or been with, as far as we know, been with any other woman. This Tansy is about Lysa and what he forced his daughter to do. And
how it affected the rest of her fucking life.
Mm-hmm. And she recalls that Lysa had miscarried 5 fucking times. Twice at the Eyrie, thrice at King's Landing, but never at River Run. Never in front of Lord Hoster Tully, unless she was pregnant here. And that sort of sends her down memory lane, recalling that her and Lysa were married on the exact same day. Her to Eddard Stark, Lysa to Jon Arryn. And they were both...
pregnant at the same time.
Well, both of their husbands rode off.
Right.
Jon Arryn and Ned went for Robert's Rebellion, and both of them were late at the same time, and Lysa gushed, we're both going to be pregnant and
our
have
kids are going to be best friends.
They're going to be BFFs, closer to brothers than cousins. You'll see. It'll be great. And then Lysa's blood came soon after, and it was like the joy had drained out of her. She realized, Kat recalls the first time she handed the newborn, squalling Robb to Lysa, who immediately just thrust him right back at Kat and dissolved into tears, fleeing the room. And Kat's like, if she just fucking miscarried, that would be an absolutely appropriate
trigger
response.
For PTSD,
right? And then she was like, Lysa and Jon's marriage was...
loveless.
Dutiful.
Right.
It was done out of duty.
And then,
Jon wanted, because we learned Jon Arryn was the last of his line. His sons were killed. His wife.
Well, and that's what finally makes the click for
Jon
Catelyn.
wanted a young, fertile wife to continue his line, and
but he didn't get that.
No.
Now, Hoster knew that she was capable of having kids. And knew that Jon Arryn needed that. And so he held that as like a hostage. He used Lysa as this bargaining chip.
Yep.
Which is, unfortunately common here, but the way he used it specifically as like attacking Jon Arryn's weakness. You need this. You need somebody capable. Yeah. You're old, you're decrepit, you're at the end of your line.
And knowing what we know is full spoiler, put it all into context. He forced his daughter to abort her child with Littlefinger, and probably used that, told Jon Arryn, well, she's already been with child once before, so
Right.
we know she can.
But that also was part of the bargaining chip with
Well,
him.
right,
He
that's
knew
what I
that
mean.
she was she
You
wasn't
need-
a virgin.
You need a fertile woman.
Right.
She's already shown she can bear children. I forced her to terminate that pregnancy. So
And
Jon
so-
Arryn is kind of a piece of shit.
Well, he also told
Or Hoster,
yeah, he told him, like, if you don't marry her, like, because he knew that any other knight or person worth their weight in gold wouldn't have somebody that's born a bastard like that, that was has carried. And so he says, well, here's the thing. I won't give you my troops to back you against the Targaryens if you don't fucking marry her.
Yeah.
And so that's how he managed to force Jon Arryn into it, because Jon Arryn needed the River Run and the Lord Paramount of the Riverlands to have that backing support to actually back the Baratheons against the Targaryens, and he held that over his fucking head.
Yeah. This is where I think an already dark chapter gets much darker, because upon this revelation, Catelyn dons a robe and goes to stand over her father, sleeping in the darkness. And she just whispers, as she's standing there, dread fills her, and she tells him that she knows what he did. Lysa was the price that he had made Jon Arryn pay for the swords and men of House Tully. And she says that small wonder their marriage was fucking loveless. Jon wanted a wife and heir, and Lysa needed warmth and love and comfort from her husband, and that's not at all what Jon Arryn was interested in giving. The next morning, as she eats breakfast, she wrote a letter to Lysa telling of Bran and Rickon, but mostly of their father's decline, how he thinks of Lysa, and
Has been
seems
begging
apologetic,
for
and says that Lysa should come, or at the very least, write, and Catelyn will read the final words, because it seems like he's holding on to see Lysa. And as she's asking for the sealing wax, she's like, it's too little too late. It'll never reach her in time. And, I mean, realistically, she's not going to come, even if it did.
Absolutely not.
And so, yeah, she's kind of like, well, fuck it, we'll send it off anyway.
And that we also, again, full spoiler, know that Lysa has no interest in Catelyn or their family. It's 100% Littlefinger and establishing themselves.
And her son, yeah.
Because Littlefinger's lied the fuck up
And,
to
I
her.
mean, we get, through the Tansy thing, we get the explanation of her creepy relationship with her son.
Exactly,
She's so protective because she's
got
lost
one.
5.
She managed to get one.
And so, she wants to keep the one she's gotten. It's fucked up.
Yeah. And so
then she goes to the Sept.
She goes and prays.
Yeah. She lit a candle to the father for her own father's sake. Another candle to the crone, who let the first raven into the world when she peered through the door of death. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, dude, that's pretty cool.
Can we figure out Raven there is a pretty interesting blood raven?
I'm thinking that she wouldn't be just sitting here dropping blood raven. Sure, I mean, I guess if you want to reach for that. But for me, it's more they're what keep bringing these words, and she just sent a raven to her sister. And so she's wishing Godspeed for that raven to get to her sister in time. And bring the message of, please, fucking go.
Cool.
Before death comes and takes our father.
Let me throw this at you, though.
Going crazy. Here we go.
So, there have been comparisons of Stoneheart to different effigies of faith.
Uh-huh.
I mean, what if Brandon Stark is a little more important than we all think, and Stoneheart, or Catelyn, is the crone who let the first raven into the world by birthing Bran when she peers through the door of death. Obviously, huge fucking reach, but what if it is the name Brandon, and it is this continuing cycle of all these Brans are wargs, the important, something with Bran is important for this war of others versus humanity,
whether good or evil.
And
he plays a role.
What if Catelyn is the mother to a very important? I just thought the phrasing of that was super interesting. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun little odd thing. And a third to the mother for Lysa and all the children they had both lost.
Right.
fucking sad. Tear.
Terrible.
Anyway.
She goes back to her father's room.
Yeah.
And she's in there just kind of bebopping around watching.
Fucking scatting and like beatboxing.
Yeah, dude. I like that.
She begins to hear trumpets and clangor. And she's like, yo, they didn't tell me I can't go to the roof, so I'm going to check it out.
And she's kind of panicking because she thinks that Robin Rygar's back. And she's like, fuck.
Right, so she goes to the balcony and sees nothing on the river, and she's like, "Oh, okay. Then it's somewhere else, but I can't see it from this window, so I'm gonna head up to the roof." She does,
I'm gonna go up
and
to the
sees
roof.
that there's some men, several hundred men at the gates, and sees the sigil of House Tully, and she's like, "Yeah, Edmure." However, it was 2 hours before he came to see her,
which gave her time to like. She dressed pretty and washed up and did all sorts of shit to look presentable for him. And in that time, she saw from the tower 3 ravens.
1,
fly
2,
off.
3. He arrives finally, and she asks him what has happened because he looks like shit. He informs her that Stannis has lost at King's Landing, and she's like, "Well, the Lannisters winning is bad." But she still remembers the shadow in Renly's tent.
And he's our enemy, too.
She's like, and he
he
says,
goes,
you don't understand.
Highgarden is now going to jump over to the
Dorne,
Lannisters.
all
Dorne
the
is going to
southern.
jump. And she's like, oh, fuck, he's right. Which, that's got to sting for Catelyn.
And then he's like, and you choose now to free the Kingslayer. And this is where it starts to get heated. She's, you had no right. I had a mother's right. Yada, yada, yada. And basically, she says that she's not counting on Jaime Lannister's word. She's counting on Tyrion's.
Tyrion's word.
Tyrion's the one who made a vow in front of all of the people at the Eyrie.
Which we already did get this from Jaime's point of view, where Jaime said, she's banking on my brother's honor. But this is where Edmure says, oh, unfortunately, rumor has it, that motherfucker took an axe to the fucking head, and he's dead.
Or he will be before Brienne gets there.
And Kat's just like, oh.
Are the gods so merciless?
Well, they are, because your brother's a fucker who's going to ruin your plan.
He also mentions that they're not like to ever get there because he sent 3 letters.
1, 2, 3.
To Roose Bolton to essentially ensure that they all get there. Or get there. But he's taken Harrenhal, and their route must take them by Harrenhal.
Yeah, and so he sent a letter saying that the Kingslayer has escaped. Not that he was sent for hostages, and that he needs to be returned.
The very word Harrenhal seemed to darken the room, and she asks if he knows what he's done. And he says, have no fear, I left any of your involvement out of it. And she thinks worse and fucking worse. And she points out that if Jaime Lannister escaped, then the Lannisters have no fucking reason to exchange my daughters for him. And I will never see them again.
Thank you.
He says, the Kingslayer will be returned to us. I've made certain of it. And she says exactly that. You've only ensured that I will never see my daughters again. They might have made it so long as no one was hunting them. But now half the fucking countryside is going to be looking for Jaime Lannister.
Jaime fucking Lannister.
And so Kat's done with him. She has nothing more to say to him. She tells him as much, commands him to leave. It's not her place. Dude. But she commands him to get out.
She herself even mentioned earlier that Hoster is Lord, but that's because she was correcting that the men are thinking Lord Edmure.
Yeah.
And she's like, get the fuck out, just go.
Yeah.
Demanding he leaves the Lord's room. Like,
leave her with their father and her
she's
grief.
The prisoner here.
Yeah.
She's the one that's held captive. She is telling him to get the fuck out, and he's like a sad puppy with his head down. Okay, yes, you're right. No, I'm sorry. I'll get the fuck out of here. Buddy.
All she wants to do is lie down and sleep and pray no more dreams would come.
Do you think she dreams as Lady Stoneheart?
I just think it's interesting that her youngest, not her youngest, but her second youngest is... Second? Is Arya younger than Bran?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Third youngest.
Wait, is she? I think she's older than Bran.
Is she older than Bran?
I can't fucking remember. Maybe she's... No, she's
Listeners, young. Age check, please.
Yeah.
You're so good at correcting us on the ages. Anyway, her son Bran is so deeply connected to dreams, and here she is praying no more dreams come. And it's...
Well, you got to remember, he had that same feeling back when he first started.
Well, that's why I feel like there was some more weight to that crone letting the first Raven in thing is just, and she's now kind of the opposite of that. No more dreams, no more of this shit. So goddamn dark, heavy chapter.
Yeah, dude, that was a great chapter, though.
A lot more of, I mean, in a reread capacity, a lot more insight into Lysa's psyche.
Yep.
How broken and
I forgot.
I
didn't realize that the Tansy chapter was so early on in the
and
book.
it's, I mean, laying it all out. Like, Lysa's a much more sympathetic character than a lot of people give her credit for.
She's very. I mean,
she's a broken human being.
Right, and Littlefinger took advantage.
And Littlefinger,
of that.
absolutely.
And so it should 100% be put on him, the issues.
Him and her father.
And
no. Because Littlefinger is a victim
as a boy
at that age as well.
But and so that leads to he's a victim of his environment at the current state of his life, where he was.
Well,
a victim
now
of his environment.
now he's choosing to make horrible decisions
because he was shown to make horrible.
Well, right. I mean, it's nature versus nurture,
right.
But yeah, I still think that Littlefinger isn't as much as a victim as Lysa. But as a kid, I always thought that people were much harsher on him than...
Absolutely. He got bullied.
And I'm pretty sure that Lysa basically sexually assaulted him.
Right.
I think he's drunk when it happened.
Probably.
And so, it's a mess. And it's a mess in one of the... It's Catelyn's home. It's prim and proper.
It's this beautiful, lovely perfection.
No, Lord Hoster's kind of a scumbag. Lord playing the high game. Does he love Cat? And does Cat remember him truly?
I think that's what's awesome and important is that he is just as filthy and guilty of playing as that Game of Thrones and not giving a right with that specifically, almost utilizing his daughters like,
as a weapon.
I'm never going to be able to get anything from her, and unless I can approach that guy who needs us more than ever. And to use a girl for that and to force her into, a forced abortion, is just traumatizing. You can't imagine how traumatizing that is, especially if it wasn't something she wanted. Like, again, it doesn't matter whether she wanted it or...
Everybody settled down. He was saying I couldn't imagine what a forced abortion is. Not all of you, obviously. Some people, unfortunately, have had real-world experiences like that, and it's just something you can't. It boggles the mind.
Hoster's a fucking piece of shit, man.
And
he's a
Lysa
piece of shit.
is a product of her environment,
right.
And absolutely, it makes sense why she dotes over Robb and Aaron the way she does. But those were our thoughts, feelings, and not inductees yet. We're going to convene our small council now and get you guys our socials, get you our inductees, and read some of yours out.
We'll see you on the other side. And we're back.
Action.
Here we go.
So, we got 2 inductees from our faithful listeners. First is Ours first, you're right.
Let's do that. I almost forgot myself.
My inductee for Catelyn 1 is going to go to Violet because she clearly made some impression on Catelyn enough to remember specifically this woman's name and kind of what she did when Cat was around. Cat's kind of known for it because she also remembered... the crazy lady who chewed the sour leaf. Her name is escaping me.
At the inn.
But there just seem to be these certain... That's what I wanted to say, like something with an M. But,
Martha?
Maybe Martha. But Catelyn seems to have these random...
recollections of names and memories.
Like people that stand in her memory as sort of foundational. Not that Violet seemed too important. But the fact that it comes up during this Tansy conversation, I think there's something to it. So I like that little exchange she had with Violet.
Sweet.
Yours?
I was going to go with one of those idiots from the beginning, but I've decided to go with Catelyn because the grief that she's going through to have lost her husband, 2 children, 2 are hostage, one of those might potentially be dead also, who the fuck actually knows, and her father's dying at her fucking feet, her brother's out at war, her oldest son, the king in the north, she just received word that day has been injured in battle.
That's not the worst of it.
But that's not the worst of it.
I mean, that one's serious. His wound in battle is not the worst of it.
He's going to get married to this woman that helps him. And so, to be going through all that, still have the presence of mind to, you know what, I'm doing something for my daughters. Yeah. I'm doing what I can. This woman, Brienne, is a fucking champ. She's going to fucking honor her word or die. And so, why not roll the dice and take a chance with her?
I mean, I don't, that's the whole thing is, she's a high lord woman. she's still a woman in this universe, and they don't have much power. So she felt helpless.
Right.
When her
and
children
she's doing what
are dying.
The one thing she knew she could
Right.
at least make an attempt to do.
It might work.
And
might is more than she's had at
And
any
so I
other
can't
point.
blame her
no.
for that. I can't blame her for but the fact that she owns up to it all. No, like I'm not pretending I didn't do what I did. Again, it shows why she's so mad at what Edmure does by sending out the ravens, because no, I did this intentionally with purpose to trade them as hostages. You fuck that.
Yeah.
Now I'm a fucking treasonous person for no reason.
Yeah. There's no
because
chance
now
of
it doesn't
my daughters,
exist,
yeah.
and I just seem
But
like a fucking terrible person.
Also, to Kat's credit, who fucking better than Brienne, who isn't going to kill Jaime for no fucking reason, is going to deliver him, isn't going to be swayed by gold or whatever. Like, Catelyn nailed it in trusting
She
Brienne.
wouldn't have had a better opportunity with anybody in this kingdom to have Jaime hand-delivered to King's Landing.
Kat's an opportunist, and she was tired of feeling fucking powerless, and she did something about it.
Nailed it.
And
she nailed it.
I don't blame her at all.
So Catelyn's mine.
Sick. Love it. We got, of course, some inductees from you. First, from Julian in France. He says, "Hello, boys of summer. Now I do agree that Edmure is an idiot, and the debate is done. Best regards." Although about Catelyn, it's a different story. She's still very determined, that makes no doubt. But her train of thought got a bit more complex. I think those questions about her father and her sister, and also the despair of her plan probably falling apart, have weakened her hope and strength a bit more. This chapter is no more about Catelyn's sadness, Catelyn's drive, or Catelyn's fights. I see it as Catelyn's fall, at least the beginning of it. That's how it feels to me. As for my inductee, I'm picking Tyrion. Ooh. He's clearly identified as the Lannister exception here. Jaime has sworn 100 oaths, yet it's the imp she trusted on this exchange. And his death she sees as a bad sign of the gods, which states how Tyrion is of importance, even if he got stripped of everything at the end of A Clash of Kings. Have a nice day there, folks. Take care of the stars and stripes. Don't you put that evil on me. Valar Falleris.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Tyrion's a good one.
Tyrion's a great one. And so I've pulled up our other inductee for this week, this episode. I said this week. I haven't said that in a long time. And this one comes from Karen.
What up,
Thank you for
Karen?
writing in, Karen. Karen says, Brienne. Hard stop.
Hell yeah.
Kat trusts her to get her daughters back, and nothing she has done, or will do, ever betrays that trust.
Hey.
She is the truest of knights.
Fuck yeah.
I'm so glad that you
She is
brought
the
her
hound
in.
with teats.
She's
much more than that.
The hound is Brienne with no honor.
He would hope to be Brienne with no
Yeah.
honor. Like, Sandor has a lot of work to do to fill those boots.
Yeah, so fuck off.
Yeah,
hound.
no, yeah. Thank you, Julian.
Awesome.
Thank you, Karen. Great inductees as always. And
Thank you, all you new listeners on YouTube. There's it'll probably be a long time before he hears this, but a Jonathan Gomez just started commenting about some Bran episodes. So that'll be fun. I'm gonna
Didn't
try and
suck.
get back to him eventually.
yeah, discussion's really good everywhere. We're
Next
enjoying it.
episode is Arya.
Arya 1.
Arya 1 of Storm of Swords.
The rain will wash them clean
So,
again.
can we announce our plans for the future now? I've started writing up the schedule. I haven't locked in those dates 100% yet, but I think it's about time we drop some news. Like, we've been dragging them on long enough, don't you think? Or should we leave them? Are we leaving them?
Hey, man.
Are we leaving them in the
This
dark?
is your reveal. So, you want to, if you can do a little sneak peek, you can do a little sneaky peeky. You can maybe just, tease a little something. Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to do? This is your small council. You're running the show.
Why is it my small council? Why
Because
do I
you're
have
the
to run
one
the show?
spearheading this charge. You've been
okay.
handling. Now, Nate's in charge of all of the logistics for the special stuff that's going to happen this season, except for moving the small council at the end. That was all me.
Oh
You're
my
welcome.
god, you son of a bitch.
But
so I guess what we can do is just announce that we will be being joined on our episodes. So not just, crazy full-on interviewing somebody, but our normal, this format,
discussing
a
a
specific chapter, but we're going to be bringing in some of your favorite hosts from other podcasts.
We're gonna have some guests. We're gonna we gotta clean up the house a little bit, make it look nice.
Yeah,
vacuum,
get some crackers and cheese, a little meat platter.
light an incense.
Some glucose for. Oh, wait, I guess it's gluten. You don't want gluten-free food.
Sure.
For some vegan stuff for all the.
But no,
whoever.
yeah, we've got
We've
numerous
gotten an unbelievable response from some of, even not just, They're some of our favorite podcasters
people
as well.
that I listen to with my free time that I'm like, man, I want to do what they do,
And
have said yes to coming on our show.
So we have a lot of cool things lined up for you guys.
Yeah.
We are beyond excited. And
You should be too, because they're a hell of a lot smarter than us, so they're instantly going to raise the IQ of this podcast like 60 points, you know? Who
clearly
knows?
it's going to be
40,
probably
60
way
points,
higher,
you know?
since that's what he thinks the scale is like.
Yeah,
on there,
it's just a jump.
Anyway, get us your inductees for Aria 1. We hope you're having fun.
Don't tell them what to do.
I'm going to tell them what
Vala
to do.
de Harris.
Can we give our socials and shit before you go ending the episode, kid? Fucking hell.
I forgot
So,
about socials.
you can send us an email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. He just got so excited because of the announcement. It threw us all off.
I know. I didn't know you were planning on doing that.
I didn't either. I got so excited. I couldn't contain it anymore.
Yeah, there's no
We're also on the
communication.
social medias besides just the email there. You can get us at Twitter, @MannersWithout is where Nate's at. Zach is at Carstark92. We have the Instagram, @MannersWithout, and our Facebook group, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. We've got a few new people over there. And if you join the Patreon, you get the access to the private Facebook group, patreon.com/ Hold on, I gotta check my notes, people. This is why we take notes.
Shuffle.
Patreon.com/withoutmanners.
Hey.
And you check our socials, you can find links to where you can find the few logos I've created up, some t-shirts, stickers, shit like that.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff.
Julian, you touched on it a little bit, but if you do happen to be an American living listener, please go out and vote.
Fucking vote.
Do whatever you can. Mail-in ballot. Jesus. Find a way to vote. There's quite a few. I've looked into an easier way for me to vote.
It's very easy, even if you're not, currently registered.
It's so important.
There's a little bit of time left. Just get it out there. You need to
It is
vote.
apocalyptically important
Yeah,
that
it's insane.
something happens in
And
this country.
remember, Black Lives Matter.
Right?
And I think that's where we'll.
I'm not doing you initiating.
Vala de Harris.
Peace.